Hello, everybody. I'm making this video here just as a quick courtesy to show my little findings that I've had with regards to third-party power supplies and some of the interesting things that I've discovered on my little journey. So it's going to be a very short video. There's not really going to be too much explanation. I hope everything explains itself without too many issues. So let's start. This is a standard Commodore 64. This one here is a C64C with a 250466 motherboard in it. It's been restored. Most of the components in it are original, aside from the PLA. And I will demonstrate that this works absolutely fine with the standard power supply, which is this guy right here. It's been its faithful companion since probably 1986. It's been tested, still works absolutely fine. So without further ado, I will explain that the video comes into the form of a composite video cable, the RCA style, goes into this little AV to HDMI converter, which appears directly through my Elgato card. The cameras around here are just to show exactly what I'm doing with the connections, and that's pretty much it. So hopefully the video will be of acceptable quality, and we'll show you exactly what I mean. So we're going to plug this guy in, and this one here. Hopefully the Elgato will not give us any problems. One standard Commodore 64. Now, there will always be a little tiny bit of interference. I mean, these cables are pretty long. They're running next to power supplies and so on and so forth. But as far as the standard, this video screen is incredibly acceptable for what it is. The VIC-2 chip on here produces the jail bars. We know about this. This is normal. It could be better, but this is just one of the machines that I currently have. So I have this power supply here off to the side, which is a third-party replacement. I have opened this just to look at what was actually on the insides. It seems absolutely fine. The voltages check out. It's got the 9 volts AC and the 5 volts DC. Right now it's upside down, but it's still saying that it's 4.92 volts. We'll take it at its word. So let's see what happens if I shut this one off. And as you can tell, it goes straight to this power supply. Direct. Plug it in. And let's see what we get. Immediately, I see through the screen interference bands, right? So the mouse may be able to show where I'm pointing if it were captured, which it's not obviously. So, but I have interference bands right here and right here. Sometimes they move, sometimes they don't. But in this particular case, you can actually see the interference bands. I hope OBS is capable of capturing that without too many issues. All right. Let's assume that maybe it's the power supply doesn't like this Commodore, or Commodore doesn't like the power supply. So this one here is a sticker. I'm going to put him off to the side. And let's try with a different one. This one here, different keyboard, is a C64C, but with 250469 motherboard in it, box standard. All the components are original. So we'll plug him in. I think he's off. Try with the original power supply. That looks pretty clean to me too. Jail bars as usual, the VIC-2. One day I'll be able to get rid of them, but right now I'm only concentrating on the fact that I don't see any interference lines. I don't see anything here or here. Nothing's moving up and down. It's relatively clean and clear. Switch it over. Elgato decides to give up. That's fine. Reboot yourself. Thank you very much. Immediately, lighter color, interference lines. And you should be able to actually see them. Yeah, I can actually see them on the OBS traveling up. Okay, so that shows what that's doing. 2 out of 2, that's not a very positive aspect, but just for completeness. Got this guy. This is the original one I was working with. Let's pull out a third. Yet another C64C, yellow keyboard, also a 250469. So it has the Super PLA. Let's see how he performs. Also, this one here is standard. Hasn't had any components added or removed. Let's see what he does with the original one. No explosions. That's a pretty good start. Relatively clear. Jail bars, of course. It's quite bright, so its Luma is definitely not having any problems. That looks pretty neat. And he works perfect. Fire him up. And the doctor says, interference lines. You can actually see them on the OBS as well. So hopefully the recording will be adequate. All right, so we've proven what? So far, this power supply has got some kind of interference. Now, whether it's on the 9-volt line or it's on the 5-volt line, that's what we're going to determine. The way I'm going to determine it is actually quite simple. And just to make life a little easier for ourselves, instead of having to go and tearing apart machines, I already have a machine here, which has been enabled for us for working. So what do we have here is a 250469er, just like the other guys, with the fact that he's got a cloned character generator. The kernel and BASIC obviously are imprinted onto a ROM, but they're fully compatible. This one here was rescued. Every single component on this was pretty much gone. And it also needed some traces to be repaired. So we replaced every single chip that we could except for the Super PLA because that was the only one that was good. So he didn't get a socket. I might socket him one day. The RAM was gone. Everything was gone. So he's got an 8500 CPU, and he's got the VIC-2 on it, the 8565, and has got a nano SwinSID. Now, this is important. The reason I say this is important is because it being a nano only requires 5 volts. It does not require 12 volts. It doesn't require 9 volts. It doesn't require any AC. It only requires 5 volts. And also, I've got a CIA in there. Now, here's a dead test. I'm just going to put the dead test in. It's in Jupiter Lander mode, just to see how he performs. So we're going to hook him up. And before I carry on any further, I have a Pi 1541 hat with a Pi 02 on it. It's been configured to be my replacement 1541 drive, so we can load some things on it if we have to test that. But this is very important. It's crucial to what we're going to be doing. So let's turn it on and see what happens. Absolutely nothing because the dead test is working. Okay, it's very bright, but that's fine. The dead test is running. That's good. And it should just carry on and report the usual stuff. 11 a.m., fine. A little bit of noise on the line, but I'm not surprised. Okay. So, and just to see that Jupiter Lander works, may not work because I've got the 1541 hooked up to it. regardless. Actually, should work. Come on. There it is, Jupiter lander. My apologies. Helps if I flip the right switch. Okay, so this guy should... Yeah. It never liked it. Not with this SID. But anyway, this machine still should provide a clean screen on OBS. The same thing that we've done with all the previous three. So it's clean, it's classic. There's nothing different than any of the others. Switch should be replaced probably, but yeah. That's working. Should work without too many problems. Eventually when it loads. Out of all the tests, I had to choose this one. But that's fine. I'm going to get him to run. So the way this guy works, because he's hooked up to the tape port, it's actually pulling the 5 volts off of here to be able to go and do its job effectively. So that's what's going on through here. I had to go and choose the biggest game to load, huh? There it goes. That looks pretty good to me. All right, so that works. Now, what happens when I take this power supply and plug in the other one? Immediately, lines of interference. This time, instead of going up, they're going down, as you can tell. Here's this one, followed by this one, and there they go. So interference lines are there. So is it the 5 volt? Is it the 9 volt? Well, I think it's the 5 volt. And the reason I say that is because if I unplug this guy and I take a standard mini USB and I plug it into this power wart. Actually, let's plug it into this one here. I've got another one all the way over here. That's directly into the socket. He's going to provide 5 volts DC to the Raspberry Pi. Now, the discovery was that watching other people's videos is that when you hook up a device that provides 5 volts, like even the HDMI through certain mods, you can actually provide 5 volts to the entire system. So if I plug this guy in, what we'll see is incredible interference lines. But the system is booted. And as you can tell, the 1541 also is properly booted. So the reason for that is because I'm providing 5 volts, and the SID and a couple of other components that on the previous models required the AC voltage. On this one, specifically this one, because of the Swin SID, does not require the 9 volts. So as you can tell, we're not even plugged in. There's nothing, there's nothing there. All right, but we still have these horrible interference lines. So what are we going to do about it? Well, I'm going to turn it off by unplugging it. And I'm going to show you, if I plug this in to this wall wart, it's better. But there are still interference lines. These are very difficult to spot, but you can still see them. The reason is that wall wart there is not well filtered. This one is filtered a lot better. So the quality that comes out of this guy is a lot better. But can we go further? Yes, we can. Now, what I do have is a power bank. This power bank It's just an anchor, 20,000 milliampere hours. It is fully charged. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this guy in direct. And there it is. Now, unfortunately, this power bank is stepping up the voltage 3.7 from the lithium up to the 5. So it does still cause a little tiny bit of jitteriness, but the fact that it is just the power bank powering it, it's doing a pretty good job. So now we can tell that, like, I can't even see any interference lines right now. Now that it's settled, we can tell that the 5-volt line is the one that's causing the problems with these third-party applications. With that, I conclude my TED Talk, and I will try to filter this one or generate or create a filter that can work a lot better, because these, as I said, I have taken them apart. As a matter of fact, I'm going to unplug it for us. I'm going to show that these are actually relatively simple construction. There's the the 230 volt to 9 volt AC, and this guy here is the 230 to 5 volts. Now, there's also, because these are they can be configured for different voltages and different to add for the floppy drives for the 12 volts and so on and so forth. There are components that you can add to them, but the filters on here, the capacitors that originally started were 100 microfarads, and there was 2 of them. I replaced them already with 470s. That did not change anything. Additionally, on the underside, I've added a ceramic capacitor. That also didn't help with the filtering. So the next step is to add some beads, some ferrite beads, to see if I can filter this, at least to try to get it into a better state. But beyond that, there's not really much I can do. Thank you very much, and hope to see you with the next video.